In the dark found light, brighter than many ever see. She, within herself, found loveliness through the soul's own mastery. And now the world receives from her dower the message of strength, of inner power. Low, slow, slow, low, stirs your blood. Dance. A night-veiled girl whirls softly into a circle of light. Whirls softly, slowly, like a wisp of smoke around the fire. And the tom-toms beat, and the tom-toms beat, and the low beating of the tom-toms stirs your blood. One night there was a terrible fight in the community. It began when a little French danseuse named Annette was going to have a child. Still, to make a living, she had to come to work every night, dance with the patrons, and drink as much champagne as she could in order to get commission. But she was not well, and she shouldn't have been there. Of course, if she had had any other way of making a living, she wouldn't have been there. But she didn't have any other way. Feeling badly, no doubt, Annette began to be very spiteful to those clients who didn't think they could afford another bottle of champagne. So one night, the owner of the place asked her not to come back anymore. He was French, she was French, and they spoke the same language fluently. So Annette said some very unpleasant things to the owner. He called an attendant to eject her. Annette would not go. The attendant laid hands on her and pushed her, struggling in her satin evening gown toward the door. As she passed the last table, Annette seized a patron's champagne bottle, ice, bottle, and all, and flung it straight at the proprietor at his cash desk behind the bar, whereupon the attendant slapped Annette to the floor with one blow of his hand. Then it was that Florence, the famous entertainer, the same Florence who snubbed millionaires nightly, arose from her table near the orchestra to defend the poor little French danseuse in her troubles. Florence wore an evening gown of gold and a spray of orchids in her hair. She swept across the floor like a handsome tigress, blocking the path of the waiters, who at the bidding of the management refused and rushed to eject the little danseuse. Florence said, "Do not touch that woman. She's a woman and I'm a woman, and can't nobody hit a woman in a place where I work. Don't you put your hands on that woman." By that time, the little danseuse had risen from the floor and seized another ice bucket, which she sent whirling into space. Customers dodged behind the tables. The orchestra struck up, tucked me to sleep in my old Kentucky home, to drown out the noise. A waiter did lay hands on the dancers, but Florence laid hands on the waiter. Then the Negro manager laid hands on Florence, and a battle royale began between the women and those who sided with the women, and the management and those who sided with the men. In the time of silver rain, the earth puts forth new life again. Green grasses grow, and the flowers lift their heads, and over all the plains, the wonder spreads of life, of life, of life. In the time of silver rain, the butterflies lift silken wings to catch a rainbow cry, and the trees put forth new leaves to sing in joy beneath the sky. As down the roadway, passing boys and girls go singing too, in the time of silver rain, when spring and life are new. and gigolos, for the American millionaires, and the school teachers out for a spree. Play it, jazz band. You know the tune that laughs and cries at the same time. You know it. May I? May we? Mindful. Parisian una rumba. Play it, jazz band. You've got 7 languages to speak in, and then some. Even if you do come from Georgia. Can I go home with you, sweetie? Sure. night, drop one by one into stillness. The last player piano is closed. The last Victrola ceases with Jazz Boy Blues. The last crying baby sleeps, and the night becomes still as a whispering heartbeat. I toss, without rest in the darkness, weary as the tired night, my soul empty as silence, empty with a vague, aching emptiness, desiring, needing someone, needing something. I toss without rest in the darkness until the new dawn, wan and pale, descends like a white mist into the courtyard.
everyone. Thank you so much for being here. You know, I'm looking around at this hall, and it's just crazy to me that this little project that that started as just kind of a dream one day in my office, chatting with Diamond, and now all these people are here, and I don't take it for granted that everybody really understands how significant this is. This is not the normal recital, this is not the normal concert, and it's time for that to happen, and we're ready for that. Granted, I've not shut up about this concert for like 2 years, but I want to thank too, for those of you who were at the breakfast this morning, and don't worry, I'm not going to talk as long as I did this morning. This is the abridged version. But Diamond had a cup, and Diamond is the one really to thank for this project. This was her idea, and I just want to make sure I credit her every time we talk about the Coleman project. One day we were just listening to Portraits of Langston in my office when we discovered it, looking at the score and thinking, gosh, this is a masterpiece. This should be in the history books, this should be studied. And she said something off the cuff like, God, if I ever met Valerie Coleman, I would just die. I would just drop dead. And so my brain went, ting! I have an idea. Have you ever heard the Amy Winehouse song, Valerie? Yeah. I had never met Miss Coleman before that, so I reached out to her, and it felt a little bit of that, like, why don't you come on over? And here she is. Fun fact, her bassoon concerto, a tribute to Serena Williams, it's called Opus Serena, premieres tonight, right now actually, in Los Angeles with the Los Angeles Philharmonic. But she's here. So Diamond said, and Diamond had a few mic drop lines this morning, but one of the really powerful things that she said this morning was, Valerie Coleman, succeeded in a field that was not designed for her, and it still wrecks me to think about that. Because we know that, paging through, we've known this is a problem for a long time. Go to the Norton Anthology of Music, our history book, turn through the pages and tell me the names you see, and tell me the demographics you see, and we've known this for a long time. Music has historically been a bit of a country club, right? And it's time we blow the lock off the front door. Art, society, culture, everything will benefit from that if we bring more people into this great, amazing art that we call music. There's no limit to how many people can make great art. There's no limit to how many people can write music. And that's the law of abundance, and that's what this project is all about. We believe there's no limit, and that's what we call now the Repertoire project. And this is not a one-trick pony. This is not the end of this project. We can do this again and again and again, and now the news is covering it, and I hope people all over the country see how awesome this project is, and I hope they see that, it's hard to fill a hall here at Coastal Carolina University, and look at this, on a Friday night, I know you all have places you want to be too, but you're here, and I appreciate that. But the beautiful thing about this project is, it's so simple, and it's so overdue. Nobody had to do any calculus, nobody had to do any rocket science, nobody had to publish a monograph, so it's just so overdue. And these are the kind of conversations in the Edwards Center for Inclusive Excellence that we have every day. And the Edwards Center is the organization that made this residency possible and funded this, so we're very grateful for that. Diamond is a student fellow, and you're going to meet two other of our music student fellows, Haley Cornell and Rachel Huggins. They're going to come out in a second, and they have, they can talk about this much better than me, so we're going to bring them up. I'm going to wrap up soon. Diamond calls the Edwards Center the room where it happens, and I just love that so much. These students have amazing ideas, but I'm really honest with these students. Lots of people have good ideas, but few are able to execute them. And so what I tell them is, find your allies, and I see a lot of people in this room that this could never have happened without in this room, so thank you. And just get started. Get started anywhere, somewhere, and just let people know what you're working on. And you can achieve almost anything, with that. And then when you achieve something, and this is what we're doing tonight, right? Go sing from the mountaintops. Let people know how amazing it is what you did. And so this is our song from the mountain. So come on up.
Hope we're enjoying the beautiful music. I think we've gotten a lot, you've all heard a lot about what this project is about. You kind of get the idea now. Repertoire as representation, what we really just want, when you boil it down, make it as simple as possible, what we really want is music that represents us, who we are as people. And you know, we've seen through history that a lot of times, even now, it really doesn't. And you can see on some of these posters over here of the research we've done, the articles that Haley's published, that like even the New York Philharmonic, out of 800 works over almost 10 years, only 12 were by composers of color. You know, and so that just doesn't represent us. And it really begs the question, because it's not about a lack of good repertoire. We've seen tonight, there's amazing repertoire out there by a diverse group of composers. So it's not about a lack of repertoire or a lack of quality repertoire. So it's like, why have we not been doing this already? What have we been waiting on? Why have people like myself and Haley and Diamond, and probably a lot of us as young musicians, had to wonder, are there really out there people who look like me? Are there musicians like me? Can someone like me do what I want to do? And so people like Valerie Coleman have shown us that there is, and that this is possible, and that you know, a little girl doesn't have to furiously Google in her bedroom at night, musician who looks like me, for it to happen, because it's happening. And we really, with this project, just want to make it easier. We want to bring the repertoire to us, instead of forcing young musicians who don't fit the status quo to have to seek it out themselves. And a lot of, like I said, all of us have been through something like that as a young musician. And so Haley can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so, hi, my name's Haley. Through talking about this project for the past almost 2 years now, something that strikes a lot of people when I say it is, in the 10 years that I have been a musician, just last year was the first time I got to play a piece of music written by a woman. In 10 years. 10 years of playing a monolith. Music is all about storytelling, and we pride ourselves as musicians. Music is the universal language. Music is all about storytelling. We as musicians, that's what we're doing. We're storytellers. Think of all of those stories in 10 years that I never got to read, to perform for other people, to experience. 10 years worth of music from a monolith. That should change. And we often recognize that there is a problem in music when we talk about repertoire. And there will always be space for Mozart and Brahms. Clarinetists love Brahms. We love Mozart. But what about the stories of today? What about the stories that are being written right now by people we can talk to? So Diamond could speak a little bit more on that.
Hello everyone, I'm Diamond. And I don't know if y'all know this or not, but Valerie Coleman is here, like, here. I can't even begin to describe how comforting it is to finally have someone who looks like me and does what I do. The fact that when I was in 6th grade, I had to search for someone who looks like me. When you're a male, if you just look up flute player, boom, there's a male. To any instrument, even singers. But I had to search for hours to find someone who looks like me. And for her to be here, to not just meet her, but to play with her, work with her, it means a lot, not just to me, but to all my colleagues and to my peers. And brown little boys and girls are just ecstatic that finally, there's someone out there who looks like me. now, we open up the floor to any questions y'all may have to Ms. Valerie Coleman.
If you have a response.
I just want to thank you, and I want to thank the rest of you for being so welcoming, incredibly welcoming to the school, to Dr. Schultz, to Dr. Pelltier, to everybody, especially you, Diamond. My gosh, what an inspiration you've been to me, and what a word you've been giving me over the past 2 days. I mean, that's just, yeah. Inspiration works both ways, and I'm grateful for it. So, yeah. Thank you guys for having us. You don't have to ask any questions. I'm just happy to be here, but I'm always here as a resource. You can raise your hand if you have any, but I know that we're going to continue the program very shortly.
Yeah. Questions? This is your chance to ask Valerie Coleman a question. Please raise your hand if you have a question. Anyone? Go ahead. Tim.
Yeah. Who are some other flute players or players in general that maybe they're not part of this program, but you see them doing the same sort of thing? Do you have anyone in mind?
Yes, absolutely. Let me think. There is Jackie Arrington, who is the professor of flute at Oregon. And she is somebody who is just this phenomenal flute player that started the Umoja Institute, which welcomes Black flutists and provides them with research, knowledge of connections, master classes, and even a summer festival. There's Kim Scott, who is in the jazz field, who is very connected with the National Flute Association. There's so many of us out there now, flutists of color who have just really stepped forward and become the role models that they did not have. So it's a really exciting time for our field and for the field of music in general. Miriam Adam, a Latina composer and clarinetist from, she's at the Blair School in Memphis right now. What is that? Vanderbilt,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Killing it. The person who is performing my bassoon concerto is Monica Ellis, who is a professor at Manhattan School of Music and is the bassoonist of Imani Wins, graduated from Manhattan School and Juilliard and Oberlin. This is a really exciting time because we're not only seeing these artists come to the fore and organizations like the Sphinx Foundation come to the fore to assist as advocates, but also the composers that are out there who are really taking what they've learned from their Western training and infusing it with their own culture and heritage to create new sounds that are uniquely theirs, which means an enrichment of repertoire for all of us, especially whether it be band, chamber music, or even orchestral works. So for a while, it seemed like classical music was pretty much moving in this kind of cycle of staleness, but now it's just expanding, and it has to.
Other questions? Yes, go.
At what age did you know that you wanted to make this your thing, your efforts for what age?
Thank you for asking that. I have to admit that I grew up in the West End, Louisville, and that is an inner city neighborhood, and I don't know at which point I decided that I wanted to play flute, but my mom told me that I was walking through the backyard picking up tree branches when I was a toddler and pretending it was a flute. So there might have been some kind of thing that was already there. We had in our house this organ that we got from a secondhand store. It was really kind of like a Casio, but it sounded like a Hammond organ. If you guys know Hammond organs from church, when you press those keys, it's like, ring. So that was in our house, and that was a part of me and my sister's playtime. We would just get on that keyboard. And the bigger story of this is if you put a musical instrument in front of a child, they're going to be curious and they're going to want to explore and find out the different sounds that they feel that they can uniquely create. So my mom, she was somebody that was really very, just so brilliant about doing that for me and my sisters. Yeah. In public school, there was a music program as well, which makes all the difference.
Go ahead.
Hi, I was just wondering, I know you're like traditionally classical, if I'm right, but I was loving the little spots of jazz in there. So I guess like, if you are centered around classical, are there any other genres that really make your heart just like on fire?
Yeah, I listen to so much. I mean, I try to infuse my background of love of Earth, Wind, and Fire, you know, the songs of the 80s. I mean, y'all know about the Bar-Kays, and y'all know about the Isley Brothers, and I could just go on and on. Sister Sledge, come on. So, yeah, when I grew up, the radio was the thing. And yeah, we just listened to the radio, and that really informed things. When I joined Imani Winds, you know, I was around people who were listening to different things as well. The horn player of the group was listening to Brazilian music, and so we listened to the rhythms and we listened to the melody and how it worked, and start to infuse that. It became our palette of just trying out different sounds. And so yeah, all different types of stuff. The bottom line is you gotta stay open. You gotta stay open to the different sounds and see how it influences you.
Well, it's working, so.
Go ahead.
So my question is, as a black woman in your field, what have you endured or what have you had to do to conform kind of to the idea of who they think you should be, that your counterparts that aren't in color have had not to?
It's all a matter of perspective, I think. And within the classical field, as a flutist, we've had to, in order to be defined as valid, we have to learn certain repertoire, we have to learn certain techniques. And anybody who wants to play flute has to learn how to play the Tafanel Colbert and learn how to do all the different scales and things like that. But the trick is to, at a certain point, just know that that's not all there is. And not let that be the litmus test that validates you as an instrumentalist. And I'm 50 years old, and I'm learning that even now. Every day I tell myself that, breaking free of the foundation that I'm grateful for, but breaking free from its constrictions.
Do you feel like you face those same constrictions when you're writing? Like, are there things that you've maybe wanted to write, or things that you felt like it could have gone in a better direction, but you felt like you had to rein it in so that more people would be willing to be into it?
I have to admit, I try not to write with the sense of people, hoping that people will play it. I think that I'm grateful that for a long time that flute was kind of my discipline, that composing was kind of like the side note. So in that way, there was a freedom to write whatever the heck I wanted without fear of judgment or anything. And now that composing is on an equal footing from flute, I've learned that in this industry, your voice is what's most important. If you're gonna write like Mozart, no, your works, just in general, they're not gonna be programmed because it's not your voice. What is your voice, right? And so it's my generation now that I believe is starting to be the CEOs of major orchestras and organizations and things like that. And I like to think that my colleagues feel the way I do in that. So I think the door is being bust wide open. And now it's the time that all of us as creators just step through that door. And that's a harder thing to do, is to step through the door and to want to be successful and to be open towards people playing your music or having the opportunity to play a premiere. it's harder, it's easier to accept defeat and back out and not do anything at all than to actually step through.
Go ahead, Ray. And we'll take one more, so you'll be the last one. How's that?
For leaving some really inspirational footprints in music, what are the biggest takeaways you want folks to bring to their work and passion?
Create, and whatever that means to you. Whether it's creating a beautiful dish of food, knitting your next beautiful ugly sweater, or collaborating if you're an instrumentalist who does not write music, collaborating with a composer or somebody who is of a creative mind who has somehow fused holistically performing and creating together. Seek out those who are creative, learn from them, and take the risk and create for yourself as well.
What do you think are some ways in which your music and your work has been influenced by your perspective as a person of color and as a woman?
I think a great deal. Yeah. And not just as a woman, because I see a lot of my brothers out there that are like Carlos Simon, are just killing it. They are just creating, you know, Carlos Simon, for example, he was raised in a church, his father was a pastor, and he has infused gospel music that he grew up with into the classical string. And that is so incredibly exciting to see. Jennifer Higdon is a multi-Grammy winning composer who is writing a concerto a month, it seems. And so hearing this wide array of composers from diverse representation, creating music that has such depth and craft is just incredibly inspiring. And sometimes I find myself saying, ooh, I wish I had that. But you know, like I said, today's music is such an exciting time. You can go to any concert and hear new music. At least, you know, I don't know how it is, the concert series in the town here, but in New York City, you can go to many different concerts and experience completely different music. So I think it's exciting.
Yeah. Great. Well, okay, we got one more. Do you want to ask?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
My generation.
Sure.
I wonder about the future of jazz, America's own classical music, and where it's going. It's going to be fusion or whatever. John Baptiste is the kind of the spokesperson, I think, for the new generation of really musicians.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes I wonder, you know, what's going to happen, because there's an African core to jazz that is not there. It's not jazz. And so I think, you know, that's something important. I wonder if you have any thoughts about it.
You know, my thoughts about that is that to John Baptiste and my brother Jason Moran and Danilo Perez and Esperanza Spalding and Marcus and E.J. Strickland, all of my brothers and sisters in jazz right now, they are becoming legends in their own right. And they're stepping into their voice and they're acknowledging they have with them an aura of the past around them, of those who taught them and of the lions of the past. And like Jason Moran, for example, he has in his studio a big old head, a Fats Waller head. He had it done during Mardi Gras. And so he just has it on the side to remind him all the time. And so I'm trusting with confidence and I'm trusting with joy at what jazz is doing right now. And I'm really in Terrence Blanchard with Fire Shut Up in My Bones at the Metropolitan Opera. These brothers and sisters are stepping into opera and they're stepping into orchestral music and all of these classical mediums. And we're hungry for it because we're hearing sounds that really speak deeply to us. And we know that in the people who program in orchestras, they're seeing that their seats are filling up whenever Esperanza Spalding has Iphigenia, the opera, if they're going to present that. And so they know that the tide is changing to be more inclusive and different sounds are happening. But I just trust. I trust the innovation that's going on. I celebrate it. I have no worry.
Thank you.
And the proof is in this room because look, you know, I mean, this audience is full and you're the innovation that we're celebrating tonight. So we just, I mean, how can we possibly say thank you enough? Thank you so much for being here and for your time.
Oh my God.
from our Louisville days. We studied with the same professor. But I want to take a moment to thank Dr. Eric Schultz for everything that he obviously they do now, but they have no idea how much Dr. Schultz cares for them and for their future, and it's truly an honor to see what he's been doing to change these lives of the students. Dr. Schultz and I wanted to give a very special gift to Valerie. This is a Fluterscooter bag. So if you are a part of the coastal Chanticleer Regiment, our piccolos now have what's called the School Spirit Collection of the Fluterscooter bag. And tonight, we actually have the Fluterscooter herself here. And we want to give this to Valerie in special recognition of Louisville, and this is in the Louisville, University of Louisville colors, but also...
Come on, go hard.
Fluterscooter also would like to say a special announcement that she has.
Yes, I'm so thrilled to be a part of this event. It was kind of an accident, and I'm playing this huge flute, contrabass flute for this. And I'm such a fan of Valerie and her music, and I've done artist editions of my flute bags over the past 12 years or so I've been in business. And I think it's due time that Valerie has her own signature Fluterscooter bag, and that will be coming out. We just talked about it, and she said, oh, she was so thrilled, and I'm so thrilled that we're going to be collaborating on a flute bag together, and it'll be the Valerie Coleman signature edition Fluterscooter. Wow.
We have this flute choir is built of everyone, and in Swahili, Umoja means unity. So we wanted to feel you as the audience in the piece as well. So we incorporated flutes from everywhere, people who don't play the flutes, right? Thank you so much for being here.